Across the world, from the US to Europe to India, democracy is struggling. Elections still do happen, institutions still exist, but there's something missing. People seem to be unhappy, and this is seen all across the world right now. So how about we take a deeper look into what exactly is affecting democracy across the globe? So firstly, it's important to understand that this isn't an issue affecting a single country or a single continent. This is spread worldwide at the moment. The trust in institutions is failing. Political polarization is rising all across the globe, and it's a kind of pattern which is showing up in different democracies at different points of time. More people are now openly criticizing the existence of democracy and more openly questioning the fact that does democracy even work? The real question isn't whether democracy is under pressure. The real question is, why is it happening everywhere all at once? And based on the research that I have done, I have broken this down into a few key reasons. Today, more than ever before, democratic leaders seem to be rewarded more for short-term gains over long-term outcomes. Election cycles today, more than ever before, are pushing governments to get results quickly, even if the real cost is something that comes later. It's important to understand that the main indicators that define the performance of a government or a country are factors like climate policy, infrastructure, educational reforms. These all take decades, if not longer. But especially in the democracy of today, success is measured over a period of a few years, and political careers are getting shorter and shorter. A really good example of this is the United States at the moment. Every 2 years, there's a major election, either for Congress or the presidency. This constant campaign cycle makes long-term policy very difficult to manage, because when we look at factors such as infrastructure spending, climate policy, healthcare reform, today more than ever before, these seem to be managed more in a way where as long as it looks good for the next election cycle, it's good enough, with little to no consideration for the long-term impact down the line. Something like 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So ultimately, it's not that democracy is bad at decision making. Today, the way it's implemented, it makes it really bad at long-term impacts and long-term decision making. Many democracies today are growing really well economically, but the impact of that growth is not felt too strongly by the people living in those democracies. When it comes to ordinary people, they look at things like wages, which have not kept up with something like house prices, job security, which feels weaker than ever before, even in the most developed of nations, and the middle class is struggling more and more and feeling the squeeze. A great example of this is the UK economy at the moment. There is no major economic collapse in the UK at the moment, but there is definitely an anxiety or a sense of dread going around in the ordinary people. Employment numbers may look a bit stable, relatively speaking, but wages especially have not kept up to pace with key economic factors like house prices, energy bills, food prices. What this has done is that for many people, life now feels more expensive, more insecure. Planning becomes harder, even though the economy is technically growing. And what this example shows us is that when the people feel that the system is not working for them, they don't just lose interest in the markets, they start to lose interest in the institutions which define democracy. A very important aspect of a successful democracy is having informed citizens, and a large role to play in that aspect belongs to the media and the information that gets shared. But more and more, it has started to feel like that modern media doesn't actually reward information, it rewards emotion instead. We have seen that outrage is spreading faster than nuance. Simpler narratives these days just beat complex explanations because nobody wants to dive deeper, just read the headlines. Algorithms on social media don't really care about the accuracy of information, they just care about engagement and what makes the loudest noise. A really good example of that is the current media in India. India highlights really well how media and information overload can affect the basics of democracy. With hundreds of news channels, social media platforms, messaging apps, political information seems to spread extremely fast and often without context. We see that emotional and polarizing content is traveling further than balanced analysis. There is more interest in watching people of opposite beliefs shouting at each other in a newsroom instead of a balanced explanation of what's actually going on. And how this can really weaken democracy is that over time, it just changes the conversational behavior of the people into more angry narratives, less informed takes, and just more sensationalized clickbait. So, expectations is something that I feel like we tend to overlook a lot when we discuss democracy. But the fact is that more and more these days, governments are expected to basically fix everything, from more social issues like mental health and inequality to more technically advanced challenges like climate change or manufacturing. But also, the fact is that because they prioritize checks, balances, and consensus, this makes democratic systems slow by design. A great example of this was seen in France, where we can say there was a big clash between expectations and slow-moving democratic systems. The government was expected to manage economic growth, pensions, inequality, public services, all at once during one democratic term. But because reforms take time, consultation, and sometimes compromise, this resulted in somewhat of a frustration amongst the people of France, and that frustration was put on display quite openly, as we all saw on the news. Therefore, in a democratic system, since expectations nowadays tend to rise faster than outcomes, this makes frustration almost inevitable. So what's the trade-off? A lot of people tend to point towards the more authoritarian systems and say, well, at least they get things done. And that might be somewhat true, because concentrated power does move faster. But the problem with these systems is, when mistakes do happen, they're harder to correct. And there's no real sense of accountability due to the power being so concentrated at the top. This often results in less consultation, less consensus, less compromise, and often a lot of human rights violations. So that being said, the problem isn't exactly that democracy is fully inefficient. It's more that democracy is efficient but with certain trade-offs, and those trade-offs are often more important than we give them credit to be. So, democracy isn't struggling because people just suddenly became unreasonable. It's struggling because the demands of modern day life have started to outpace the systems which were designed for a much slower world. So I feel like the challenge for the future and for us isn't exactly to choose between democracy and its alternatives. It's more about adapting democratic systems to fit the needs of modern life more appropriately, whilst also understanding why it's important to protect those democratic institutions in the first place. If you found this video useful, please do like and subscribe, and do let me know in the comment section below which topic you'd like me to explore next. But that being said, that is all from me for now. Until next time, goodbye.